In the previous videos, we've talked about the 4 main fishing lines to use for bass fishing. We covered monofilament, we covered braided, and today we're going to cover more of a technique-specific fluorocarbon line. Stay tuned, be right back. Hey folks, welcome to Casting with Kirk. I'm Kirk, glad you could join me today. So today we're going to talk about fluorocarbon fishing line. Fluorocarbon fishing line is more conditional and technique specific fishing line. Now compared to like monofilament, because it's a clearer line, it's not like braid, it has a lot less stretch. You get the solid hook sets like you do with braided fishing line. It sinks faster than monofilament. So it's really good when you want to get your lures down deeper and quicker. It's a line that's very, I guess what they like to call invisible to the fish. And so it's very hard, I guess, for the fish to see. So if you're in really clear water, fluorocarbon line is a good line to go with. Fluorocarbon is very abrasion resistant. You can use it around wood, docks, dragging it over the rocks, through weeds and that kind of stuff. Very sensitive. It's extremely sensitive like braided line is compared to monofilament fishing line. Because it is less stretch, you get more of that feel when you're bouncing it through rocks. You kind of feel those rocks. You feel the movement of what's going on down there. You can sometimes feel a little bit better of the fish hitting it. Now, it is more expensive than monofilament fishing line. It'll run you right around that same what you're paying for braid, around $20 for some spool, like 200-yard spools. This certain brand that I use, Seaguar Red Label, I really like it. It's about $15 a spool for 200 yards. I have found it before on sale at my local store by me for sometimes around $11, $12 a spool, and that's when I'll go and snag it up really good. You can get the small little leader spools, which we'll talk about in a little bit. These will run you maybe, I paid $7, I think, for this little one. It's 8 pound, and I'm not even sure how much is on. Oh, there's like 30 yards on here. So it's not that expensive if you're looking for the leaders. Now, certain lures work really good with fluorocarbon. If you want to get your crankbaits, like your 1.5 crankbaits, this is a crankbait that runs anywhere around 10 to 11 feet deep. Fluorocarbon works really good for getting it down deep, especially when you're using a limber rod, like I like to use a lot of times my 1.5s and my shallows. With that limber rod, I can use that fluorocarbon, which has a lot less stretch than the monofilament, and get a solid hook set. Works really good in the cold water with jerk baits. I'll throw these usually on 10-pound test fluorocarbon. It gets it down to a decent depth and keeps it down there. You get that solid hook set again, because I use a more flexible rod, soft tipped rod when it comes to jerk baits. Spinnerbaits works great for spinnerbaits. You can really feel these blades moving through the water with fluorocarbon line. I use it a lot when I'm flipping and pitching jigs, Texas rig soft plastics like these. It works really good if you're throwing like a weighted swim bait. Again, it gets down deeper because the line sinks, unlike that monofilament does. You can use it as a leader. A real popular technique that a lot of guys fish now is a drop shot. If you watch any bass fishing tournaments, it's being used all the time. And the rig that you usually set that up with is braided fishing line, like a 20-pound on your spinning setup. But since it's a finesse technique and used in a lot of clear water situations, they're tying on a fluorocarbon leader of like 6 or 8 pound tests, and they could be doing it anywhere from 12 inches up to 4, 5, 6 feet worth. And what that does is you're tying that line to that lure and the hook. And again, it becomes then less visible as something for the fish to see, whereas if it was just that straight braided line, it would look unnatural. So that's where you can get away with buying these smaller spools and using them as a leader tied to your braid. Now it comes in multiple tests. Some of your most common ones for bass fishing range anywhere from, like I said, the leader sizes of 4 to 6 to 8 pound, and all the way up to 20, 25 pound tests. Crankbaits, I usually run around 10. My jerk baits, anywhere from 10 to 12, depending upon the depth that I want to go. My deep diving crankbaits, I'll still run those usually on 10 pound tests. Spinnerbaits and Texas rigs, I'm usually running 15 pound. Jigs and heavy Texas rigged plastics, I'm usually running 15 to 17 pound fluorocarbon. You definitely don't want to use it if you want a floating lure. Like say you're going to throw this 5-inch stick worm as a floating top water, the fluorocarbon will sink. If you want this to stay on top, use braid or monofilament. And one thing it can cause issues is in extremely cold water situations where you might be fishing in the wintertime and your water's 38, 39, 40 degrees. Fluorocarbon can become really, really stiff and difficult then to manage and use. Fluorocarbon line works extremely well on bait casters. I personally don't like using it on spinning reels. I've had it where I put it on the spinning reel, try to get it all conditioned and all that, and when I go to cast it, it just comes off like an explosion on that spinning reel. So like I said, I'll use a leader if in those types of conditions, but it works phenomenal on bait casters. So this was video number 3 of a 4-part series where we're talking individual fishing lines. We talked the monofilament, we talked braided, and today we talked fluorocarbon. Stay tuned for number 4 next week. You're definitely going to want to see it. If you like this information, you'd like to follow along, hit that like and subscribe. If you have any comments or questions, go ahead and cast those below. We'll have a conversation. Thank you for joining me today. Have a good one.